Hello, it's Amy with Just a Little Ink. I'm an independent demonstrator out of Prescott Valley, Arizona. I've been a demonstrator now for 22 years, in this area now for 2, and I'm love to share with you a project I've come up with. I've got some graduations coming up, and maybe you do too. I'm going to switch my camera over so I can show you some wonderful things. You may or may not have already seen our brand new catalog. If you haven't, you should log on my Stampin' Up website, justalittleink.stampinup.net. You can also find it off of my blog, justalittleink.com. But you can find the different look that we have to our catalog this year. It's got a lot of beautiful bright colors. There's some wonderful new products. Everything, however, that is available is online under what's a category called online exclusives. And that's where you're going to find the cap and gown stamp set. It was in our most recent mini catalog. It's a wonderful red rubber stamp set that Stampin' Up has carried over into our online exclusives. And so that is the project that I'm going to make for us today. It uses just some basic supplies. You would use whatever colors probably coordinate with your graduation, your grad's colors from their school, but I'm going to use Blueberry Bushel. This is a half a sheet of cardstock. It's 8.5 by 5.5. And actually, stop for just a moment because I think I've forgotten something. I'm hopeful that you caught everything I need here. So you've got a half a sheet of cardstock. I told you 8.5 by 5.5. You also are going to want a piece that is 7/8 of an inch by 11. So that's another of the long-sided pieces. You're going to want a couple pieces of designer series paper, and depending on what you're looking for, I wanted something that I had first and foremost that was available, which is second. And this gold and white, I don't know if you can see it real well from the camera, this makes it a little better. This is from the Nature's Sweetness specialty designer series paper that carried over again from our mini catalog. These are cut at 2 inches by 5 3/8. And then you're going to want a couple pieces of gold foil or gold foil paper, if I can even talk today. They're 2 different sizes. This one is 2 1/8 by 7/8, and the other is 2 3/8 by 3 5/8. So 2 3/8, 3 5/8. And then you need a number of pieces of basic white. One for the inside, 4 by 5 1/4. It's a basic one. These are going to be on the front of our card. This piece is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. You need a piece, this is a scratch piece of paper. You could use any scrap you might have around, but I did a 4 by 1. And then I've got a piece here that is 2 inches by 3/4, 2 inches by 3/4 of an inch, if I can read. That helps, doesn't it? And then a 4 inches by 1 inch. And all of those pieces, you'll see kind of the why of all of that in a moment. I'm going to show you this neat card. So it's a pop-up gatefold card. So it's got a belly band that keeps it all together. And then when you open it up, here's the pop-up part. And I just thought it was so cool. And then I've added a wobbler onto the grad cap just for it to be something extra fun. So let's get started with all of this. I did want to mention, and here's the little wobbler, and I will post a link for these. I bought these off of Amazon. I'm guessing that you can also get them at some of the craft stores in town, but just so you know, they're there. If you want detailed tutorial that I have put together in your email, all you need to do is subscribe to my email list. You can do that. The easiest way is to go out to justalittleink.com, and a pop-up is going to show up for you to sign up for my mailing list. It gives you the best chance to catch any tutorials, any of my free online classes that are coming, and it allows me to email you the PDF of this tutorial. So if you want all the step-by-step and all the instructions and everything written down, that's your easiest way to get it. So let's get going. So it starts off really, really simple. This card I'm going to take, I've already scored each end at 2 1/8 inch. So I would pull in my paper trimmer. We'll just do it here so that it's not something. I don't want to use the cutting blade. I want to use the gray scoring blade. And I would line up my paper along that 11-inch side. Excuse me, in this case it's not 11 inches, and along this case it is 8 1/2. I'm going to score in here at 2 1/4 inches, or excuse me, 2 1/8 inches. Then I'm going to open it up and I'm going to turn it around. And I'm going to score again on the other side at 2 1/8 inches. I find that's just easier than giving you other measurements that are bigger. This is just the easier way to do that. We'll set this aside because we will need it later. I'm going to grab my bone folder and I'm going to fold my cardstock along that score line. Wherever I've got the bump facing me, that's how I then fold over, and that will keep it from having fibers that break up into the cardstock. So I've got that scored. Put that away. Then I'm going to grab those 2 pieces of designer series paper. Again, these were 2 inches by 5 3/8, and I just need a little bit of adhesive. And you're going to put those on the front. This allows us to get a little bit of bling on the front. And so I just want a tiny bit of overlap on all 4 sides here. There's one. There's some more here. Don't need a lot of adhesive, but I love the Stampin' seal. I think it works so well. But again, whatever adhesive you have. If you are not already a subscriber to my YouTube channel, you can do so by clicking down below and subscribing. And then if you click that little bell, you'll make sure to get any notices when I post new videos. So at this point, we have done the front. We're going to stamp on the inside. So I'm going to set this side and I'm going to grab the inside. This is that 4 by 5 1/4. And there's a greeting that says all of the hard work was worth it. And so at this point, I'm going to grab one of my blocks, line it up. I always turn mine over to make sure I'm straight. See, in here I would not have been. I would have been as crooked as all get out. And so if you turn it over, kind of line up, you'd be pretty close to how snug all that is. And then I'm using Blueberry Bushel. Whatever color your base color is, that's the color you're going to use. So I'm going to ink up. And then I want to come down about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to come here. I want to come down about 1.5 inches. It really is not a hard and fast rule. Stamp it here, hold it a second, pull up. We'll clean that after a while. I'm going to close that stamp pad so we don't ink things all over the place. Okay, then I'm just following along as I go with my my tutorial here for you. So then we've got that. Okay, we're going to pull out my trimmer again. So I'm going to set these aside again. I told you you needed that 4 inches by 1 inch. And so I'm going to pull that out. I've got, this one's a little bit bigger. We're going to trim it off because I think I changed my mind on something. So what we're going to do is we're going to score. I'm going to pull this to the edge and I want to score it at 1 inch. I want to score it at 2 inches. And I want to score it at 3 inches. Now, I chose to do it this way because I think it's easier. So I've got it at 1, 2, and 3. So you've got 1 inch grooves that are scored there. Then I'm going to line it up at the 1/2 inch mark here, so that I have 1/2 inch on both sides of my paper. And then I'm going to come down and cut it in half. And that gives me 2 pieces that are 1/2 inch by 4 inches. And then I can set this out of the way. So then we're going to grab that bone folder again. And I'm going to start on this 1 inch part. I'm going to fold it over. And what you're going to find is that you're going to make this into basically a loop. I didn't really quite know how better to describe it, but you will kind of know. So I'm folding it all in mountain folds so that it's all folded on top of each other. Hopefully you're catching all of that. So that when it is together, it's an open square. I have it open on the ends. Grab it up a little closer to the camera. You see then it would make a square. And so I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece. So I'm going to fold it onto itself at the 1 inch mark, and I'm going to keep folding it onto itself all the way around till I get to the end. And that gives me then the second open square. So now that we've got those ready, I'm going to get rid of my bone folder. I can take adhesive and attach the center into the inside of my card. I don't have a directional designer series paper. If I did, I would want to make sure that I am not upside down. But because I'm not, we can just go ahead here and line up. I want this in the center. I want it to look nice, like so. Line here, okay? So at this point, I want to come in at about 2 inches. And I didn't quite, I should have probably done this differently. What we're going to do is I'm going to turn it into here. I might go here. And I'm going to line up at 2 inches so that, I'm going to grab my cutter out of the way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to come and give a little bit of a mark here and a little bit of mark here so that I kind of have an idea of where that is. Did it mark it? Yeah, almost. So what you need to do is make a mark at that 2 inch mark. The other thing you could do is this. You know, sometimes you think through it and you go, you know what, this would be smarter. So we're going to go this way because guess what? I can have it where my pencil lead will go in the middle of this. Would be smarter and not make it harder on all of us. So I've got little tiny marks here. What I'm going to do is grab my multi-purpose liquid glue. Make sure I've got some coming out. I'm going to come on this 1 inch tab, as you can see here, and I want to put a little bit of adhesive here. I keep my glue down and I'm going to turn it. So I want that 2 inch mark where I made it here. I am going to come from that fold and I'm marking it there. I want to come here and I'm coming out actually on the flap so that you can see I've got it here. The rest of it's loose, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. And it's easier. I think you probably could guesstimate how you wanted this, but I'm a little more exacting when it comes to the measurements, and especially with us having hands, I didn't really want it to be freeform. So this way, when it comes in, they should be, see, they match up pretty well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some adhesive on this last little tab. So get out my multi-purpose liquid glue again. And it's going to come around and catch almost that fold here. So that then it's flat, but when I move it, you'll kind of notice that when it moves now, it lines up, so you can see where it's kind of in the fold. It touches, but it doesn't quite connect. So I'm going to do the same thing, put some on this piece. And then I'm going to fold or turn it around because it's easier for me upside down. Then I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to press. And again, then I've got two pieces that are moving here. Okay, so at this point, we are going to do some stamping. I want to come in and stamp my hands. So there's two hands. And let me see here. Maybe, no, that's not going to work. We'll do these separately. Be nicer to do them all at the same time, but we'll do them separate. I grab the hands and my Tuxedo Black Memento ink. So I'm going to grab that out. Memento ink, because I'm going to use Stampin' Blends. It really is my overall preferred black ink, but if you are watercoloring, you would want to use StazOn. So I'm going to get that there. And then I've got one more piece. I want to stamp the graduation cap. I'm using most of the stamps in this set, not quite all of them. Let's see if I can do enough at an angle here. Yeah, like so. So I've got all my three pieces here. I'm going to show you just quick. I'm not going to color through all of them because I did color ahead. I'm using the light tone of the combo of our skin tones. They are called, specifically, they are called the Natural Tones Light Stampin' Blends. And so I'm going to use those. I am not blending. You can blend and get all kinds of different skin colors. But kind of to give you the idea, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of it and then I'll stop. You would color in all of the hands on both sides. You would color with your chosen color of ink that coordinates with your cardstock for the gown. I'm going to color here, and you need it to be down at least 1/2 inch. So I'm a little hint, go a little beyond what you see, and you can cut it out and it really won't, no one else will know. You're going to do the same thing on the cap. You'll color it in, and you're going to cut all these things out. It does require a little fussy cutting, but I find it's worth it. I do think you could do the same thing if you're someone who doesn't like coloring. You could consider stamping on colored cardstock and then cutting out that. I'm using for the gold some of our Wild Wheat Stampin' Blends because I thought it gave the best look for gold tassels. Then you would simply come in with your paper snips. You're going to come around. It's best after you've colored, simply because you can kind of get a little further out on those tassels, and wiggle it with your non-dominant hand and cut it with your dominant hand. It's mostly straight cutting, and so it's really not too bad to do the fussy cutting. Let me see it come around. And I'm not going to cut all of it because, as I said, I've already stamped all of this. So I'm going to come up here, throw this in the trash, this extra piece, not going to need. So you would finish all of that, which I have done. And I told you I've got pieces. I went a little longer with my hands, and I've got my graduation cap ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that wobbler, and I'm going to attach the wobbler to the inside of my card. I find that was the easiest way. And there's different sizes, by the way, of wobblers. These were small ones. You will see a little bit of it. Actually, I'm going to come this other way because I want to. Has two different sides. One has an open little area and has a relief of sticky paper. And then the other side, if you kind of wiggle it, this is a lot less hard to pull off. It's more flexible as well. So this is the part that I'm sticking onto my stamped piece. So I'm going to use that, and then we'll use the paper or my take your pick tool after a bit. So I'm laying it down so that the clear piece is here. You can almost see it, but very faint. Then I'm going to grab the take your pick tool because it's the best way to grab this other little piece. If you have nails that allow you to pick things up, you could easily do that as well. So I'm going to do that, put my take your pick away, that out of the way. So here's where it helped to have this on here first. So I want it above the all of the hard work was worth it. So I want it looking as though they threw it up into the air. Then I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue again, and I'm going to glue down just this 1/2 inch piece of the gown onto those little tabs. And the biggest tip I have on these is just to make sure they're not too far toward the edge, because if they are, they're going to hit that, they're going to hit the side. And so it's better to go further into the middle of the card than it is to have it closer to the edge. And so you want to make sure you keep that glue just on the gown part, not on the hands. And I'm going to stick it on this top piece, not the piece that's perpendicular. So I'm going to line it out here. You see how I've got it. I don't want my hand to be too far in. So then when I fold, you see how we got it going? And I just think that'll be kind of cool to give a gift with. So one more little thing, we've got to do our belly band. So I've got that 11 inch by 7/8 inch. I'm going to fold my card in closed. Then I'm going to put the band behind, and I'm going to fold over. I find this is just the easiest to keep it where it slides on and off pretty easy. You could use multi-purpose liquid glue. I find that you can use just our Stampin' Seal, and it works really pretty well. So like so. So now I've got something that can slide on and off, and the next pieces are to do these other stampings. So we're going to grab some graduate. I'm going to do the congratulations graduate. We'll see how well I can get this stamped. And I'm going to pull out my blueberry bushel again. Stamp blueberry bushel. And see how well. We have 2 sides of paper, so we'll see how great I am at lining up. I'll find out. Sometimes you get 2 tries. Hey, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to let that sit and dry a little bit. I'm going to grab my gown. I found it was easiest to do it kind of this way. So I'm going to grab my gown, ink up the gown, and sometimes, I don't know if you see that, sometimes you want to make sure that it inks up very well. So I've got it inked up, and I'm grab that 2 1/4 by 3 1/2 inch piece, and I want to have it closer to the bottom, centered right to left, but closer to the bottom. Nice press, lift up, nice. And then I'm going to grab a smaller block and grab that cap so that we can stick it up in the center. So I'm going to ink up again in the blueberry bushel. You would use whatever color again you're using. Straight ahead, there we go. I'm going to let that sit there just a moment while I ink up, or not ink up, but get my adhesive out. I'm going to take the Stampin' seal, line it up on my piece of gold foil. You could use silver foil, you could use a coordinating color. You certainly do not have to use metallics. I think there's so many ways you could make this card and make it beautiful. Again, I think you're going to really want this. This stamp set, it's in the online exclusives. Don't know how long it'll be there. That's kind of how all of our online exclusives go. It's definitely graduation season, but this is a nice simple set, and at only $23, I think it's a good buy. So then I'm going to grab Stampin' Dimensionals to put on the back of the Congratulations Graduate, and I only need a couple of them. It's one of those things you always kind of need, dimensionals. I don't know about you. If you don't need the stamp set, maybe you've got other graduation cards or graduation stamps that you can use. You always need cardstock. You always can use adhesives. There's so many things you can use. So I'm going to place this above on the center of my graduate. Make sure that I'm centered, kind of right to left. There we go. All right, and then to finish it all off, all I'm doing is I'm going to put a little adhesive right here in the center. It'll kind of hide where I've got this fold. So I'm going to come in, and I don't want it to go beyond the bend because then it'll still slide. So I'm going to take my graduate. I want to line it up centered. And let's see. I think I want the greeting kind of centered on there, even if it's not quite centered. That's what I wanted. So just like so, then it can slide off. I can open it up, and all your work, all the hard work was worth it. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you will consider signing up for my newsletter, or not my newsletter, for my email list. And I will put a link in the description of this video as well. But just want to make sure you know that that's how you can get the printed tutorial for this card. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks for your subscribing. And I'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful day. Happy stamping.